Let's talk some sports, baby.
And remember, make tomorrow better than today and make today better than yesterday. And you know what we gonna do. We gonna holler at you until next time, baby.
All right, staying in the NFL, we've got some more head coaching vacancies that have been filled. The Chargers, Eagles, and Lions have all gotten their guys, so to speak. Not surprisingly, the Houston Texans are still on an ongoing search, and we will bring that to you in the days to come when they figure it out, and if they figure it out. But we'll start with the Los Angeles Chargers. They went right next door, so to speak, to get the Los Angeles Rams defensive coordinator Brandon Staley. Staley, of course, leading that number one ranked defense this year with Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and company. So we'll start there, Drink. What do you think of the Chargers hiring Mr. Staley?
Well, I would say this is definitely a win for the defensive coordinators. I'm really big on seeing how many of these guys get hired. This is the second one. So definitely a win for defense coordinators. I personally thought that the Chargers would go for an offense coordinator, specifically Brian Dable, the offense coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. Look, here's the deal. You got a second-year quarterback that played pretty well, could possibly have won Rookie of the Year if Justin Jefferson wasn't playing out of his mind down in Minnesota. So instead of building on that success, you get a defense coordinator. Now, I don't know, just from my knowledge of football this year, I just thought offense was the way to go. But listen, I'm not mad at the hire because the defense coordinator for the Rams, did we not see the Rams play this year? They was pretty good on defense, and they spent a lot of money on defense, and they still was pretty good with the guys that they had. So I'm not saying he's not worthy of the head coaching hire. He definitely is. I would have thought you would have built around your quarterback, your second-year quarterback. I don't know. That's what makes sense to me. This guy might be a home run hire. It just, I don't know. You got Justin Herbert. You got this new stadium. You in LA. It's very hard to get, view eyeballs on your product in LA with so much going on. And that's just stuff you would have made a more polarizing hire by bringing in Brian Dable. Okay, that's cool. Now, Brandon Staley, now you are the guy. And I'm telling you right now, if that defense ain't humming by year 2, you won't be the guy for long. Because like I just said, this is an offensive game, and I'm very surprised you're going to be the guy calling the shots. This seemed like the Chargers just trying to pick. I don't know. If I feel as if they just want to go against the grain and do something different. And it might work or might not, but I don't know, man. Like he did have the number one defense. He really did, but he got Ingram, he got Bosa, he got what's the safety name?
Derwin James.
Derwin James, and he got the rookie linebacker that they drafted this year. He got pieces on his defense. Now the question is, are those pieces Jalen Ramsey? Are those pieces Aaron Donald? Are those Broncos? Let's see. We'll see. If those pieces can look like that, I do think he can get the Chargers back to, a top 5 defense. If they don't look like that, no, we might have a problem. And I do think this, though. The Chargers got a better pass rush than the Rams got. But the Rams just got an overall better player, Aaron Donald. So take that for what it's worth. This is probably one of my least let me say, I put it on a scale from 1 to 10. Let's just do it this way. I put it on a scale from 1 to 10. 10 being that I like it the most, 1 being I like it the least. I'm gonna give this one an old young 6. I gotta see something first. We'll see what the Chargers were thinking. But all in all, I just feel like you gotta bring in a coach to help take Justin Herbert to the next level. But that's my thought.
Yeah, I think up front that's the kind of the surprise factor. You know, when you have a rookie quarterback come off really a really good first season, you know, perhaps the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, exceeding all expectations over there. It's just curious that you wouldn't prioritize, you know, an offensive guy to come in and kind of be the lead man in his growth and development, trying to keep that headed in the right direction. And you know, I was thinking, you know, as time went along, I think we kept seeing more and more that Bill's offense coordinator Brian Daboll was the guy linked to this job.
Right.
For whatever reason, that's not what happened. It must have been just a great interview, I guess. Brandon Staley, I mean, he did he did lead this number one ranked defense that we just saw at the Rams. Something to behold when we kept referencing. We thought the Rams gonna have to pay down some of that credit card debt. It looked like they was building up. But you talk Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. Those are definitely the cornerstones. But it must speak, something has to be said for perhaps Staley, coaching up some of these lesser known guys, and like Michael Brockers, Darius Williams, Troy Hill. The list goes on and on with some of those guys. They are Leonard Floyd, throw him in there as well, seemingly having a breakout year. Maybe that's something he can bring to the Chargers in the same city. They do have two. I don't think Joey Bosa and Derwin James are quite on the same level as Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, but they are two building blocks, and hopefully Derwin James can get on the field and stay on the field. He's had some really rough injury luck the past few years, but they got that's not an empty cupboard out there with the Chargers. There's still some other guys that they have. I know Melvin Ingram, Chris Harris, they're getting up in age, but I still think they can be good contributors for you. Of course, Kenneth Murray, we like him as a young guy. Hopefully he can continue to develop. Casey Hayward, I believe he's still there. So there's a lot there. And offensively, there's some things there. You start with Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen. There's a lot of stuff. They just gotta, it's going to be a challenge for Staley to, kind of fill in the blanks to some of the things that haven't worked. I think the Chargers in recent history, they've been a team that have been, seemingly hit by injuries more than most. Maybe that can turn around for them. But I think Staley, for him, the first order of business is he's got to get, a strong offensive mind in there alongside of him to that can have a real good working relationship with Herbert. If he can get that established and they can get that moving in the right direction, it could be something to behold. But there's always for me a wee bit of skepticism when a guy's been a coordinator for one season and he's been a position coach, besides that. So that's not quite the resume I'd like to see, but we'll give him a fair shake and we'll see how it turns out for him.
Did you say resume? Oh, well, let's talk about resume then. So let's go ahead and transition to another opening that recently got filled, the Philadelphia Eagles. And speaking of resume, man, I had to whip out Google and Wikipedia to find out Nick Sarnecki. How you say that last name?
I believe that's Nick Sirianni.
There we go, Sirianni. Right, boom. All right, so for all the folks that was like me and that didn't know, hey, this guy was the offense coordinator for the Colts the last 3 years. We know what this is about, but before I give away too much, tell us what you're thinking about that hire.
I must say, the Philadelphia Eagles have been a team that is just, and an organization that they have just seemingly disintegrated the past year into just utter chaos. I don't have much of a clue what they seem to be doing. Doug Peterson, it was a really strange year for him, all the way up to giving us a taste of what it's like to have Nate Sudfeld throw passes on the last game of the season. The relationship between Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson, that became irreparable. The Eagles, the management made a choice to get the coach out of there. I guess they have. I guess in the end, management and ownership still has Carson Wentz. They want him to be the guy. I think Carson Wentz is repairable. I don't think I think there's some culpability with the coaching staff not being able to get the best out of him. I think when Frank Reich left for Indianapolis, maybe that was the beginning of that decline. I don't know. Maybe Nick Sirianni, coming from the tutelage of Frank Reich, maybe he can be the that tonic that helps him rebuild himself, because last year was forgettable to say the least. That has to be the play. If that's not the play, then I don't think it makes much sense at all. This is a relatively unknown guy. I mean, when you think of the candidate that people were thinking from the Colts was the defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus, and he's not a guy who's getting a head coaching job, it appears. So this one's a little bit curious. I don't have a sense of how it'll work, but it's got to be with the quarterback in mind. That has to be his primary focus. But there's a lot of work to do. You look at the Eagles, up and down the roster. That Super Bowl seems almost a lifetime ago. Some of these guys, whether it's Lane Johnson, whether it's Jason Kelsey, we know Jason Peters is, just old at this point.
Right.
A lot of these guys are of advanced age, and you can also go on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, those are two of your cornerstones on defense. But how much longer are you going to be able to, fully rely on them? So they have to do a bit better, as far as drafting and just kind of restocking, young talent. It goes up and down the roster. You continue what the wide receivers. I know you got Jalen Reagor, but outside of, we don't know how good he's going to be. We've been talking about, Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson, just weekly no-shows. You can't find them.
Collecting their stimulus checks.
There's a lot of work for him to do. It seemingly doesn't appear to be the best of jobs. Job number one, fix Carson Wentz. And oh, by the way, Jalen Hurts is still there. So Carson Wentz is still going to have him looking over his shoulder. He's had that his whole career, whether it's Nick Foles, now it's Jalen Hurts. It's going to be a team. It's going to be a joint effort between Sirianni and Carson Wentz. That's going to be what he's judged off of.
And I can't disagree with nothing you said. I feel 100% that same way about this hire. I would say this, when I do my scale from 1 to 10, I think this hire has the potential to get as high as an 8. But right now I'm looking at it as a 5. Why? Because it's kind of like college football. Some of these kids in college football, they commit to a team for a coach. And then that coach leaves, and then they're kind of locked into an agreement, or they go into the transfer portal. And people always say, you don't commit to a team for a coach. You commit to the team for you, or you commit to the team for the team, but never do it for the coach. I feel like old Nick here might be getting the short end of the deal, because he's like, it's almost as if he's committing to this team for the quarterback, and a specific quarterback, and that quarterback is Carson Wentz. But what happens when Carson Wentz, if he comes in and say, I still don't want to be here? What happens if he pull a James Harden? And I don't think we're good enough to win. I don't want to be here. And he still demands a trade. Now you just hired this guy for what? I hope he can coach up Jalen Hurts. I hope he's ready. I hope he come in here knowing that he might have to coach both of them, because this is not a guarantee that this is going to make Carson Wentz happy. Now, do I think they didn't talk to Carson Wentz about this hire? Yes. I do think some talks didn't happen, and Carson Wentz might have said, let's see what it do. But if that doesn't work, you just brought this guy here for nothing, because I don't know if he's a Jalen Hurts type of coach. Could be. I could be totally wrong. But it's nothing, like you say, it's nothing in his resume that leads me to believe that. And so with that said, I hope it work out. But like I said, I'm at a 5 with this one. Until I see something, I'm not the world's biggest fan of it. So, yeah, man, I hope it works. But I would like to hear, first and foremost, if I was an Eagles fan, I would like to hear Carson Wentz come out, have a press conference, or do something on his social media, whatever the case might be, and endorse this hire. That would make me feel better. Until I hear an endorsement of this hire, I just think it's just for a lack of word, it's just like a sideshow or something. I don't know. I'm not a real big believer in it. So we'll see. But it got a 5 on my confidence scale right now.
All right, yep. Last one we'll get to is the Detroit Lions. They've went with Dan Campbell. A lot of experience coaching NFL tight ends, we believe. He worked as an interim coach for the Dolphins back in 2015. Other than that, not a whole lot from my perspective on the resume. What are your thoughts on the choice the Lions made?
Ain't this the same bull crap that the Cleveland Browns did with Freddie Kitchens?
That's I gotta admit that's I did think of Freddie Kitchens just for a brief moment when I thought of this. At least though, I gotta say, at least Campbell has been an interim before. He's got some interim head coaching experience for whatever it's worth. We know Freddie Kitchens was never an interim guy before that.
So let's think about this. Hey, Dan Campbell, you are so good. We're gonna make you the interim coach, and then when that goes away, we're gonna turn you back into a tight end coach. Thanks, Dan. Like I don't get. I mean, I don't get it. This one is by far the worst hire of the three. This joint gonna get a 4 on my scale. I'm telling you that right now. I don't understand it. I'm a big believer in it's a process, right? And in that process, right, you be a position coach, and then you learn that position, and then you learn multiple positions on that side of the ball. Then you might move up to be, let's say, a associated head coach or I'm not head coach, associated coordinator for whichever side of the ball you're on. You know what I'm saying? And then you learn how to kind of do that for a little while. Then hopefully your skills then showed enough where you bump up to be a coordinator, the no crap coordinator, whether that's offense coordinator, defense coordinator. And then, 2-3 years you end up being a head coach if you still, at the top of your game at that time. This whole position coach to head coach thing, this ain't it. This is not it. Like, how many of these failed head coaches do we got to see before we realize we might want to make them work a little harder? I'm sorry, but if your best card, and I'm not talking about you personally, but I'm saying if your best card for Dan Campbell is he was an interim head coach, but then after he was the interim head coach, he didn't become a coordinator or he didn't become a head coach, then that's not good enough. He was an interim head coach for the Dolphins in 2015. It is 2021, and now he's a head coach. Am I missing something in those 5 to 6 years in between why he wasn't a coordinator or a head coach during that time? Like, that just don't make a lot of sense to me. I don't know. It don't. So this hire going to get that whopping excellent 4 out of 10 for your boy. And it could get higher, but then this is Detroit Lions we're talking about. So I'm not worried about it getting much higher either. So good luck, Dan Campbell. you might want to if you don't got Robert Saleh's phone number, you might want to get it because I think both of y'all might be on the unemployment line at the same time because I'm not seeing this working out all that well for the Detroit Lions. So prove me wrong, but this I don't understand this hire. I think this is the worst of the three. Yeah, I don't know. Make this make sense for me, Jay.
I got some, few perhaps nuggets I just found. Campbell played 3 years for the Lions back in 2006, 2008. For whatever that's worth, I don't think they were good then either. But his coaching career, he did coach tight ends for the Dolphins for 5 years before, he's an interim coach, for a little bit there. He moved on to the New Orleans Saints, where it says here he was the assistant to the head coach in addition to being the tight ends coach. But whatever that's worth, I don't think that matters a whole lot because, when you watch, you've probably seen a fair amount of Saints games, in recent history. I know I have. Mm-hmm. I've never, when I watch a Saint game, there's 2 guys on the sideline they show. They show Sean Payton because he's a head man and he calls the plays, and they show Dennis Allen. Those are your 2 guys. Right. Nobody's putting Dan Campbell on camera because he's the assistant to the head coach. You don't hear that. I mean, some of the head coaching, the hot guys, whether it's Robert Saleh, whether it's Eric Bieniemy, Matt Eberflus, those guys, Brian Dable, like you know the list of guys who are like hot candidates.
Right.
No one.
The ones we should be talking about.
Exactly. No, you haven't heard anybody from this whole tenure. I didn't even know Dan Campbell worked for the Saints. I just saw it. I didn't even know where he was employed. The only thing I remember him having a little stint where he was the interim guy for the Dolphins. I did not know he was with the Saints. So, the Detroit Lions. In the end, I mean, are we surprised? I'm not surprised that the Lions, made seemingly the lackluster hire of not only out of these three, but out of these six. Dan Campbell, he's probably a little bit more exciting than Arthur Smith, but I have no more confidence in Dan Campbell than Arthur Smith. I don't.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I forgot a big part of what I was gonna say, and you just reminded me.
Go ahead.
Did you see that Welcome to Detroit interview that he had?
I didn't watch it. Apparently, it was good though.
Oh my God! I guess it depends on your definition of good. But my guy is out here talking about eating kneecaps and you're gonna have to kill us on the field and just it was an aggressive opening interview. Let me just tell you
ultimate rah-rah fella.
Oh my God, I couldn't believe him.
I think during his interim time, like that was, I think they had, the first game he was interim, like they came out, guns blazing and they just, dominate the line of scrimmage, old school, run the ball down your throat. And of course, after that, it seemingly fizzled. I don't know, like, is that something is going to really connect for this, this new generation of players, Right. I know that's seemingly the old school mind of thought, and that's still all well and good, but you have to, I think in today's game, you're going to have to, that may not necessarily cut it all the time. This is not, I mean, these guys practice less. The game's not as physical, that, certain hits that used to be allowed, like blindside blocks, you can't hit a guy in the head. You can't hit a quarterback, period. I mean, so I think a guy with that type of message and mantra, I mean, it might, I don't know if that's going to do it necessarily. Although some of the things he's saying are definitely all well and good, and you want to have a physical tone. But outside of that, I think the hire is about culture. I think it's about a guy who can motivate and be, a Mike Tomlin or, a guy like that. But in the end, it's the Lions. So I don't have any confidence in this at all. He's going to have to have, two great coordinators to kind of buffer him up. So he's going to have to figure that out. And seemingly, I don't think, if he the only thing that separates him from Matt Patricia right now is he ain't bringing a pencil with him, and he ain't got that beard. So I don't see it. I don't see things changing all that much. I'm not excited about it at all. And yeah, you're right. I think, him and Robert Saleh will be on the chopping block at around the same time.
I would say this, to your point of the difference between him and Matt Patricia, like at least we knew who Matt Patricia was before he got this job because those championship runs with New England. But like you said, it might not be much of a difference. This dude might be a better person or a better motivator because the news we heard about Matt Patricia.
Hopefully players don't hate him quite as much as they hated Matt Patricia.
Right. So that's a good point, though. That's a very good point.